The eviction notice. The file felt insubstantial in Montgomery Sterling's grip, a flimsy document outlining the Miller family's impending crisis. 3 missed rent payments, 0 contact, no feasible repayment plan. A rote scenario. He exhaled, the sound absorbed by his office's vast quiet. Sunlight, streaming through the panoramic window, spotlighted airborne dust, each mote a miniature indictment of the urban decay he tried so hard to ignore. A swivel of his groaning leather chair brought the cityscape into sharp focus. Gleaming towers soared, emblems of aspiration and affluence, a world apart from the humble dwelling he was about to assess. He glanced at his phone. Nearly noon. He was already running late. He dropped the file onto his mahogany desk, the soft thud barely registered over the air conditioner's hum. He shrugged on his coat, a dark, impeccably tailored piece that felt more like a bulwark than apparel. Though the day was bright, he craved its protection, a defense against the unpleasant task ahead. The drive was a sharp departure from his usual route. The smooth, predictable veins of the financial district gave way to constricted streets, the asphalt scarred and uneven, the air thick with exhaust and the sweet perfume of jasmine. He passed modest businesses, their signs faded and chipped, and houses huddled together like ill-fitting teeth. An unfamiliar twinge constricted his chest, a growing sense of loss, a vague ache for something irretrievable. He located the address without difficulty. It was a small house, painted in buoyant colors, a cheerful act of defiance in a landscape of muted tones. The paint showed signs of age, yet the window boxes, overflowing with geraniums and petunias, were meticulously cared for. A children's swing set, slightly rusty but well-loved, occupied the small yard. He parked his Bentley, its sleek, ebony finish comically out of place. As he cut the engine, the sudden hush intensified the neighborhood's sounds. Children's laughter, a dog's bark, the distant drone of a mower. He inhaled deeply, bracing himself. Business. Nothing more. He smoothed the fabric of his coat and exited the car. The sun pressed down, warm and insistent. He moved towards the house, his footsteps resonating against the cracked pavement. He felt unseen eyes observing him, curious and wary. His gaze remained fixed on the front door, a faded blue, slightly ajar. As he neared the porch, he detected the faint sounds of music, a children's tune played on a slightly off-key piano. A simple melody, yet it stirred something deep within. He recalled his own youth, his father at the piano in their parlor, the house echoing with joy and warmth. A time before the burdens of expectation and duty had settled upon him. A time before he had become Montgomery Sterling, the unyielding businessman. He banished the memory and ascended the porch steps, though it groaned beneath his weight. He reached for the tarnished brass pineapple knocker and paused. He pictured the Millers within, their fear and desperation laid bare. He envisioned their lives upended, their hopes dashed. He tightened his fist. He had a task to perform. He lifted the knocker and let it fall. The sound reverberated through the house, sharp and decisive. He waited, jaw clenched, expression stern. The music ceased abruptly, followed by silence. Then, footsteps, light and hesitant, approached the door. It opened slowly, revealing a young woman with weary eyes and a tentative smile. She held an infant in her arms, a tiny form swaddled in a vibrant blanket. Behind her, 2 little girls peered out, their eyes wide with inquisitiveness. They were lovely, their faces framed by untamed curls, their cheeks flushed with excitement. Sterling's rehearsed speech of explanation and demand caught in his throat. He stared at the woman, the children, the small, brightly painted house poised to become just another statistic in his portfolio. The weight of his position descended upon him, suffocating. He opened his mouth, but no sound emerged. The woman waited patiently, her smile unwavering, her eyes radiating a quiet fortitude that took him by surprise. He glanced at the 2 little girls and unexpectedly felt tears pricking his eyes. He quickly averted his gaze. He was uncertain what to do. "Hello," the woman murmured, breaking the stillness. Can I help you? A song of hope. Montgomery, Sterling halted, his hand a mere breath from the weathered planking of the door. The small, unassuming dwelling thrummed with an almost palpable vitality, a stark contrast to the sterile quiet he usually sought. Again, he caught the melody, a crystalline harmony spun from youthful voices. The words remained indistinct, yet the tune struck a chord deep within him, resonating with buried tenderness. His hand dropped leaden. Eavesdropping was beneath him. He should simply knock, deliver the eviction notice, and be done. Yet, his boots seemed anchored to the porch, his senses straining to capture the fragile serenade drifting from within. This time, the lyrics emerged, carried on a gentle breeze that stirred the rampant rose bushes clinging to the cottage's side. If I had wings, a voice as light as thistledown and surely lilies trilled, I'd soar so high beyond the clouds into the sky. I'd scatter seeds of laughter bright and flood the world with pure delight. A second voice, fainter and laced with hesitation, rose, no doubt, joined in. If I could paint the world anew, with colors bold and skies so blue, I'd chase away the dreary gray and bring the sun to light the way. Together, their voices intertwined, a naive and hopeful roundelay. We'll build a world of dreams so true, where kindness reigns in all we do. With open hearts and hands so free, we'll make a difference, can't you see? Montgomery felt a foreign tightness in his throat, an unwelcome guest he dismissed as airborne dust. The song's sentiment was patently absurd, the product of childish fancy. The world didn't operate on such principles. Kindness was a weakness, not a currency. Dreams were luxuries he could ill afford. He knew this with a certainty forged in the crucible of ambition. He'd fought tooth and nail for his position, sacrificing every flicker of sentimentality along the way. Still, the melody persisted, insinuating itself past his carefully erected defenses. He conjured an image of the two girls, their faces radiant with untarnished hope, blissfully unaware of the brutal realities awaiting them. He pictured Lily, brimming with restless energy, sketching outlandish contraptions in a dog-eared notebook, and Rose, quiet and perceptive, nurturing a fragile bloom, coaxing it back from the brink. A phantom limb of memory stirred, his own childhood, a distant landscape veiled in the mists of relentless drive. Had he ever embraced such unyielding optimism? Had he once believed in the transformative power of simple decency? The answer eluded him. Somewhere on his ascent, cynicism had taken root, strangling the vestiges of youthful idealism. The song concluded, leaving a vacuum filled only by the drone of crickets and the distant thrum of traffic. Silence descended, thick and oppressive, punctuated only by the insistent rhythm of his own pulse. He should knock. He desperately should. He envisioned their expressions as he delivered the cruel notice. The nascent joy extinguished, the wellspring of hope drying up, replaced by the bleak acceptance of defeat. He imagined the mother, bowed beneath the weight of her burdens, her aspirations for her daughters collapsing into dust. His jaw tightened, a telltale tick betraying his inner turmoil. He loathed this. He loathed his role in it all. He loathed the way this crumbling cottage and its optimistic inhabitants were forcing him to confront a part of himself he'd buried alive. He turned, offering the doors back. He could not carry out his task, not today. He needed respite, a space to brace himself, to shore up the walls he'd so meticulously built to protect his heart, to hammer home the mantra that business was business, and sentimentality was a fatal flaw in the cutthroat world of property. He retreated, his footsteps dragging on the overgrown path, the hopeful refrain echoing in his mind, a relentless echo of the man he once was and the man he had coldly crafted. The fragrance of roses, sickly sweet and pervasive, clung to his clothing, a fragrant accusation of his own hardened soul. He knew, with a certainty that sent a shiver down his spine, that this was not the end. This small, singing family had somehow planted a seed of unsettling doubt, a seed that threatened to bloom into something he couldn't possibly contain. He would have to return, and soon. But next time, he would be prepared. He would be ready to snuff out their light, regardless of its dazzling brilliance. Meeting the Millers. The door yielded with a groan, unveiling a woman whose eyes mirrored exhaustion, yet her smile held a fragile resilience. Sarah Miller, he guessed. Her dark hair, confined in a severe bun, framed a face lined with worry. The cotton dress, though spotless, betrayed its age. Despite the visible burden she carried, a quiet dignity radiated from her. "Mr. Sterling, I presume?" Her voice, a gentle murmur, carried a thread of hesitant anticipation. "I hadn't anticipated your arrival so soon." He felt the weight of the eviction notice in his pocket, suddenly a physical manifestation of his unease. "Mrs. Miller, my apologies for the intrusion. I merely wish to discuss the outstanding balance." "Of course." She retreated slightly, inviting him in. "Please do come in." He paused before crossing the threshold. The air inside was surprisingly balmy, infused with a sweet aroma of cinnamon mingling with an odd tang of iron. His gaze swept over the room. Compact, yet immaculately organized, the living area basked in sunlight that highlighted swirling dust particles. A time-worn rug softened the wooden floor, its once vibrant hues now muted. Dainty paper flowers, painstakingly crafted, graced the mantel, testifying to a longing for beauty amid hardship. From behind the sofa, Lily and Rose peered out, their eyes round with curiosity. Lily, ever the bolder, offered a hesitant wave. Rose remained partially obscured, her bright blue eyes the only visible sign. "Girls, say hello to Mr. Sterling," Sarah instructed softly. "Hello, Mr. Sterling," Lily chirped, her voice brimming with youthful exuberance. Rose gave a demure nod. He summoned a strained smile. "Hello, girls." A sharp pang of guilt struck him, recognizing the children whose serenade had haunted his sleep. Sarah directed him toward a faded armchair. "Please have a seat. May I offer you some tea? Or perhaps some lemonade? Lily makes a particularly fine lemonade." "No, thank you. I won't detain you long." He remained upright, feeling ill at ease and intrusive. The opulent confines of his office, the sterile efficiency of his world, seemed impossibly distant. "So," Sarah began, her voice losing its earlier hopeful lilt, "I imagine you're here regarding the rent." He shuffled his feet. "Yes, the payments are considerably overdue." She exhaled, running a weary hand through her hair. "I know. I'm terribly sorry. I lost my position at the bakery several months ago. A downturn in business forced them to make cutbacks. I've been searching for alternative employment, anything, but it's proving difficult." He observed her, noticing the slight tremor in her hands, the averted gaze. He understood the town's bleak economic landscape. Opportunities were scarce, prospects grim, circumstances of which he was, in part, responsible. "I've been piecing together work where I can," she continued, her voice gaining a measure of resolve. "Sewing, alterations, anything to earn a little income. Lily has been contributing to, selling some of her inventions." She gestured towards a small table cluttered with peculiar creations fashioned from wire, bottle caps, and vibrant fabric scraps. Lily's face lit up. "I'm going to be an inventor, Mr. Sterling. I'm going to invent things that help people." He examined the fantastical contraptions, the unwavering hope radiating from Lily's eyes. He saw not mere childish whimsy, but a fierce determination, a nascent ingenuity. A forgotten memory flickered within him, a time when he, too, had harbored ambitions of improving the world. The recollection, faint and distant, stirred a dormant ember of idealism. "And Rose," Sarah added, a note of maternal pride coloring her tone, "is a gifted musician. Her violin playing is quite remarkable. She even tutors some of the local children." Rose's cheeks flushed crimson, and she lowered her gaze. He recalled the haunting melody that had drifted through his window the previous evening, the music that had pierced his carefully cultivated indifference. He surveyed the room once more, absorbing the details, the peeling wallpaper, the mismatched furniture, the handcrafted ornaments. He perceived not just poverty, but resilience, ingenuity, and love. This was more than a dwelling. It was a home imbued with hope, even in the face of despair. He cleared his throat, the eviction notice feeling like a crushing weight. "Mrs. Miller, I understand your predicament. I commend your efforts to rectify the situation." He found himself unable to utter the words, to issue the ultimatum. The ruthless businessman he had become was locked in a silent battle with the idealistic youth he once was. "Mr. Sterling," Sarah pleaded, her voice laced with quiet desperation. "Please, I simply require a little more time. I'm submitting applications for every available position. I'm not seeking charity, only a chance to regain my footing." He met her gaze, seeing the fear and vulnerability, but also the unwavering resolve. He saw a mother fighting for her children, a woman clinging to hope against insurmountable odds. And he knew, with a conviction that resonated deep within him, that he couldn't proceed. He couldn't evict them. He couldn't dismantle this home. Not today. Gifts and memories. Buoyed by his continued presence, Lily bounced toward him, a sheaf of papers clutched in her mitts. "Mr. Sterling," she piped, her voice brimming with youthful exuberance. "Do you have a penchant for inventions?" He blinked, caught off guard. "Inventions? Well, I suppose." His voice ebbed, uncertain how to navigate this unexpected tangent. "I'm destined to be an inventor when I'm older," Lily proclaimed, shoving the papers into his hands. They were sketches, rudimentary yet brimming with imagination. A self-irrigating planter powered by solar panels, a rucksack that transformed into a portable haven, a contraption supposedly capable of deciphering animal speech. He was strangely touched by her palpable sincerity. "That's quite ambitious," he murmured, the faintest suggestion of a smile playing on his lips. "Ambitious is crucial," Lily insisted. "Mama says you have to dream audaciously to make an impact. This one," she indicated a drawing of a multi-limbed machine wielding an array of brushes, "is a domestic automaton. Chores are obsolete." Mr. Sterling chuckled, a sound he hadn't realized he still possessed. The clinical immaculacy of his penthouse apartment sprang to mind, sustained by a staff he barely registered. He wondered if Lily, with her unkempt hair and boundless ingenuity, could even conceive of such a world. As Lily prattled on about her creations, Rose edged closer, her movements tentative and hushed, something nestled in her grasp. "Mr. Sterling," she murmured, her gaze earnest and wide. I crafted this for you." She offered her hand, revealing a simple wristlet fashioned from braided twine, adorned with a scattering of vibrant beads. "It's a charm bracelet," she elucidated, her voice barely audible. "Mama showed me how to make them. She believes everyone warrants a smidge of luck." Mr. Sterling fixated on the wristlet, his throat constricting. He hadn't been given a homespun gift he couldn't recall. The gesture, so unadorned and heartfelt, impacted him with unforeseen power. He gently accepted the bracelet from her outstretched hand, the coarse twine a sharp contrast to the sleek, high-end materials he typically encountered. "Thank you, Rose," he responded, his voice uncharacteristically gravelly. "That's exceedingly thoughtful of you." He slid the bracelet onto his wrist, feeling a peculiar warmth percolate through him. Against the backdrop of his bespoke suit, it appeared incongruous, a stark reminder of the vast gulf between his reality and theirs. His gaze swept the room, noting the mismatched furnishings, the time-worn rug, the flaking paint on the walls. And yet, despite the evident deprivation, a tangible sense of affection and camaraderie permeated the air, a sense of belonging that had long eluded him. His eyes snagged on a photograph adorning the wall, a faded portrait of a smiling man with kind eyes and work-worn hands, leaning against a half-finished wooden structure, a carpenter's apron slung around his waist. "That's our father," Lily announced, observing his interest. He was the most skilled carpenter imaginable. He could construct anything. Rose nodded, her eyes gleaming with both pride and sorrow. "He made our dollhouse," she whispered, "and the bookshelf, and everything else." Mr. Sterling studied the photograph, a spark of recognition igniting within him. He recalled a discourse from years prior, with a building contractor concerning a delay on a project. A gifted yet uncompromising carpenter who had refused to compromise on quality. A man who had prized excellence and principles above monetary gain. He faintly remembered the contractor's irritation, his offhand dismissal of the carpenter as difficult. A wave of icy foreboding surged through him. Could this be the same man? Had his relentless pursuit of profit, his unwavering dedication to the bottom line, inadvertently contributed to this family's misfortune? The notion was nauseating. He glanced back at the two girls, their faces illuminated by memories of their father. He perceived not merely destitution, but resilience, ingenuity, and a profound, enduring devotion. He perceived the human repercussions of his choices, the individuals behind the financial statements. He thought of his own offspring, now adults and estranged, their lives molded by his insatiable ambition. The eviction notice felt like a slab of lead in his pocket, an emblem of all he had become. He couldn't proceed. He simply lacked the capacity. Echoes of the past. The eviction notice felt like a lead weight in Montgomery Sterling's breast pocket. He hadn't handed it over yet, and with each passing moment, the task became more impossible. He found himself lingering in the Millers' modest living room, ostensibly to assess the property's condition, but truly, he was stalling. His gaze traveled over the handcrafted details of the house, the sturdy bookshelves built into the wall, the intricately carved mantelpiece above the fireplace. David Miller's work. He ran a hand over the smooth, polished surface of the mantel. The wood was cherry, expertly joined, with a subtle grain that spoke of careful selection and skilled craftsmanship. Sterling recognized the mark of a true artisan, someone who loved the material and respected its potential. A wave of unexpected nostalgia washed over him, pulling him back to a different time, a different life. The scent of sawdust and varnish filled the air, thick and comforting. A younger Montgomery, no older than Lily, stood beside his father in their small carpentry shop. Sunlight streamed through the dusty windows, illuminating the swirling patterns in the wood shavings that carpeted the floor. His father, a man with calloused hands and a gentle smile, was patiently guiding him as he struggled to carve a simple wooden bird. "Hold the chisel like this, Monty," his father said, his voice roughened by years of breathing in wood dust. "Feel the grain. Let the wood guide you." Sterling remembered the frustration, the splinters, the countless failed attempts. But he also remembered the satisfaction of finally creating something beautiful with his own two hands, the pride in his father's eyes when he presented the finished bird. His father had always emphasized quality over speed, integrity over profit. "A craftsman's reputation is his most valuable asset, son," he'd often say. "Never compromise on that." The memory faded, leaving Sterling standing in the Millers' living room, the weight of the eviction notice pressing against his chest. He looked around again, taking in the evidence of David Miller's skill and dedication. The craftsmanship was undeniable, imbued with a sense of care and love. He pictured Miller painstakingly building these shelves, carving that mantelpiece for his family, for Lily and Rose. His father's words echoed in his mind. A craftsman's reputation, never compromise. But hadn't he done just that? Hadn't he compromised his own values in his relentless pursuit of wealth and success? He justified his actions as necessary, as simply business. But staring at Miller's work, he saw the human cost of those compromises. He saw the value of a life lived with integrity, of a legacy built on something more than just profit margins. He walked over to the bookshelves, running his fingers along the spines of the well-worn books. He noticed a small, hand-carved wooden toy tucked between two volumes. It was a horse, its mane and tail meticulously detailed. He picked it up, turning it over in his hands. A pang of something akin to grief resonated within him. This was more than just a house. It was a home, filled with memories, with love, with the echoes of a life well lived. He thought of his own father, his own humble beginnings. They had lost their shop when Sterling was a teenager, a victim of a similar ruthless acquisition by a larger corporation. His father never recovered, his spirit broken by the loss of his livelihood, his passion. Sterling had vowed then to never be vulnerable, to be the one doing the acquiring, not the one being acquired. He had steeled himself against sentimentality, against any emotion that might weaken his resolve. But now, standing in a Miller's living room, surrounded by the tangible evidence of David Miller's life and love, his carefully constructed defenses were crumbling. He saw a reflection of his own father's lost dreams in this family struggle. He saw the potential for his own redemption, a chance to undo at least some of the damage he had inflicted. He clenched his jaw, his hand still gripping the wooden horse. The weight in his pocket felt heavier than ever. He couldn't do it. He couldn't hand over that notice. Not yet. He turned to leave, mumbling something about needing to review the paperwork. He needed time to reconcile the man he had become with the memory of the boy who had once carved a wooden bird with his father. Time to decide what kind of legacy he wanted to leave behind. The broken music box. The eviction notice felt like a stone lodged deep within Montgomery Sterling's coat. He hesitated at the Miller's doorway, the mingled aroma of wood smoke and baking bread tickling his senses. A homey fragrance, alien to his usual world of polished chrome and glass towers. Twin gazes, brimming with anticipation, focused on him. Lily, the elder, vibrated with suppressed energy, her smile dazzling. Rose, quieter, studied him from behind her sister, her look thoughtful and perceptive. "Mr. Sterling," Lily bubbled. "We were hoping, could you possibly lend a hand?" Sterling fidgeted, the document in his pocket, now an oppressive burden. "I'm not sure I'm the right person. My skills lie elsewhere, I'm afraid." "But you're a businessman, aren't you?" Lily parried, head cocked. "You must know how things operate." Emboldened, Rose edged forward, clutching a small, exquisitely wrought wooden box. Clearly an heirloom, its surface gleamed with the patina of age, details softened by countless touches. "It's our music box," she offered gently, presenting it to him. "Dad made it. It's broken, though." Sterling paused. The box possessed a unique charm, reminiscent of the house's rustic allure. It whispered of devotion, of a life dedicated not to accumulation, but to crafting enduring beauty. He extended a hand, its size accentuating the box's fragility. Turning it over, he admired the delicate carvings of flora and fauna that embellished its form. He noted the age-darkened hinges and the slightly skewed latch. "What seems to be the trouble?" he inquired, his tone surprisingly mild. "It doesn't play anymore," Lily explained, some of her earlier effervescence gone. "It used to play the loveliest tune. Dad always liked it. He'd wind it up for us every night," Rose added, her voice a mere breath. "It made us feel safe and secure." Sterling gently opened the lid. Faded velvet lined the interior, cradling a delicate clockwork mechanism of miniature gears and pins. A quick glance revealed a dislodged pin, the culprit silencing the whole apparatus. He stroked the intricate assembly. He hadn't engaged in such tinkering for decades, not since childhood, assisting his own father in his cluttered workshop. The recollection, unexpected and vivid, tugged at him. I can't promise anything," he conceded, his voice raspy. "It's rather intricate." Lily's expression clouded. "Oh," Rose's lip trembled, and a forgotten sensation stirred within Sterling. Remorse. He regarded the sisters, their faces a tableau of hope and disappointment. He glanced at the music box, a symbol of paternal love, a tactile echo of happier days. Then he saw the eviction notice in his pocket, a symbol of his own relentless pursuit of gain. "However," he amended, his voice stronger now, "I can certainly give it a shot. I had a knack for this once." He hesitated, adding almost unwillingly, "It might take some time." Lily's face brightened instantly, her smile reborn. "Really, Mr. Sterling? You'll try?" "Yes," he affirmed, surprised by the depth of his own sincerity. "I'll try." The realization struck him with sudden force that he couldn't deliver the notice just yet. Not while the music box lay silent in his palm, a muted appeal for help. He needed breathing space, time to reflect, time to recall, time to determine the sort of person he aspired to be. Accepting the box from Rose, his fingers brushed hers. Her skin felt unexpectedly soft. He closed his fingers protectively around the object, sensing its weight, its story. "I'll take good care of it," he pledged. "I'll see what I can do." He turned to go, the eviction notice a still present weight, but somehow transformed. No longer simply a legal instrument, it now represented a moral dilemma, a choice between ambition and empathy. He recognized, as he departed, that mending the music box transcended merely repairing a broken object. It was about mending something within, a melody of change. The music box lay disassembled on the worn kitchen table, its tiny gears and springs scattered like fallen constellations. Montgomery Sterling, sleeves rolled up and tie loosened, peered at the intricate mechanism through his reading glasses, a relic from his own tinkering youth. The air in the small kitchen hung thick with the scent of dust and the faint sweetness of Lily's half-eaten apple pie, a stark contrast to the sterile, ozone-tinged air of Sterling Enterprises. "It's the mainspring, I think," he muttered, more to himself than the girls. He'd located his father's old toolkit in the garage, a tarnished metal box overflowing with screwdrivers, pliers, and miniature wrenches. The weight of the tools in his hands felt strangely familiar, a ghost of forgotten dexterity. He hadn't held them in decades, not since he'd traded engineering dreams for boardroom strategies. Lily, perched on a stool beside him, her bright eyes shining, bombarded him with questions. "What does a mainspring do, Mr. Sterling? Does it make the music play louder? Can we make it play a different song?" Rose, quieter as always, sat across the table, carefully sketching the disassembled music box in her notebook. Her brow was furrowed in concentration, her tongue peeking out from the corner of her mouth. "The mainspring stores the energy," Sterling explained, patiently, pointing with a miniature screwdriver. "Like winding a clock. It releases the energy slowly, turning the cylinder that plucks the teeth of the comb." He carefully retensioned the spring, its delicate metal resisting his touch. His fingers, accustomed to signing million-dollar deals, felt clumsy and oversized. He almost dropped a tiny screw, and Lily gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. "Careful," she cried, then giggled. "That screw is probably worth more than my allowance for the whole year." Sterling chuckled, a sound that felt foreign and rusty. "Probably," he admitted. As he worked, Lily peppered him with questions about his own childhood. "Did you ever break anything when you were little, Mr. Sterling? Did you ever have to fix it?" He paused, his gaze drifting towards the faded floral wallpaper. "My father, he was a builder, always fixing things. He taught me a few things. We built a birdhouse once, a rather lopsided one, as I recall." A faint smile touched his lips. He rarely spoke of his father. "What was he like?" Rose asked, her voice soft. She'd stopped sketching and was looking at him with her big, earnest eyes. Sterling hesitated. "He was a good man, hardworking. He believed in building things that lasted. Not just houses, but relationships. He always said, 'A solid foundation is everything, Montgomery.'" He didn't mention how he had abandoned that foundation in his ruthless climb to the top. Sarah entered the kitchen, her face etched with weariness. She carried a stack of laundry, her shoulders slumped. The news of the factory closing had hit her hard. Another job lost. Another blow to their already precarious existence. "How's it going?" she asked, her voice flat. "Almost there," Sterling replied, focusing on the task at hand. He carefully reassembled the tiny gears, aligning them with painstaking precision. Finally, after what felt like hours, he carefully placed the cylinder back in its cradle. He wound the key, his heart pounding with unexpected anticipation. A hesitant, tinkling melody filled the small kitchen. It was slightly off-key, slightly wobbly, but undeniably music. Sarah froze, her eyes widening. A single tear traced a path down her cheek. "That song," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. That was David's favorite. He used to sing it to the girls when they were babies. The melody was simple, almost childlike, but it resonated with a depth of feeling that Sterling hadn't expected. It was a song of love, of hope, of resilience. A song that spoke of enduring even in the face of hardship. Lily and Rose were transfixed, their eyes shining with tears. Rose reached out and gently touched her mother's hand. As the music played, Sterling felt a strange shift within him. The cold, calculating businessman seemed to recede, replaced by a flicker of something warmer, something more human. He looked at Sarah, at Lily, at Rose, and saw not tenants to be evicted, but a family clinging to hope in the face of despair. The music box wound down, the silence that followed heavy with unspoken emotions. Sterling cleared his throat, his gaze fixed on the intricate mechanism in front of him. The eviction notice felt heavy in his pocket, a lead weight dragging him down. He looked up, meeting Sarah's gaze. "There's something I need to say," he began, his voice rough. "About the eviction, tears of joy." The music box's melody, bright and pure, sliced through the still air, scattering the sunlit dust motes. More than a tune, it was a fragile bridge to the past, a sweet echo of their father that Lily and Rose so desperately craved. Rose's breath hitched, her eyes widened with wonder. A spontaneous, bright delight bloomed on Lily's face as she clapped. "It works. It really works," she shouted, flinging her arms around Sarah. Exhaustion lined Sarah's face, a map of weeks spent wrestling worry and sleeplessness. But as she gazed at her daughters, relief mingled with disbelief. Imperfect, yes, but the music imbued the cramped space with a warmth she'd almost forgotten. Turning to Mr. Sterling, her voice a raw thread, she managed, "Thank you. You have no idea." Sterling remained motionless, the small screwdriver a cold weight in his palm. He'd braced himself for polite acquiescence, a perfunctory acknowledgement. He hadn't expected the radiant joy emanating from the girls, the naked feeling in Sarah's voice. He glimpsed, beyond tenants and ledger entries, a family, a trio clinging to a delicate memory, a family he'd been so ready to shatter. Emboldened, Rose reached out, her small fingers, roughened from helping her mother, brushing his smooth hand. "It sounds just like Papa's," she breathed, her eyes glistening. "He wound it every night." Her words struck Sterling like a physical blow. He recalled his own father, a gruff man whose hands had crafted things of beauty and who instilled in him the importance of artisanship. He saw echoes of that legacy in the girl's creativity, in Sarah's unwavering determination. A strange tightness seized his chest, an ache dormant since his own father's passing. The eviction notice, a stark indictment of his actions, lay on the table. The air felt thick, stifling. He snatched the paper, his hand betraying a slight tremor. He studied Sarah, her eyes reflecting a blend of hope and fear, the desperation of a mother shielding her young. He imagined his own widowed mother, scraping by. Without a word, he tore the document in half, then again and again, until it was nothing but scattered fragments, a symbolic destruction of his previous mindset. Sarah gasped, her hand flying her mouth. Lily and Rose simply stared, their faces mirroring stunned disbelief. "Mr. Sterling, what?" Sarah stammered, unable to process the scene. He cleared his throat, the sound rough in the sudden quiet. "Mrs. Miller," he began, his gaze steady. I deeply apologize. This was a grave error." He pulled out his checkbook, scribbled something quickly, and offered it to her. "Consider this a loan," he said, avoiding eye contact. "No interest. Repay it when you are able. And should you be interested, I have possibilities that align with your talent for resilience." He thought of her knack for stretching a dollar further than it should go. Sarah accepted the check, her fingers trembling. Tears gathered, not of despair, but of pure, unadulterated relief, tears of elation. I don't know how to thank you," she breathed, her voice thick with emotion. "From the bottom of my heart." Lily and Rose, propelled by pure affection, encircled his legs. "Thank you, Mr. Sterling," Lily cried, her voice ringing with happiness. "You're amazing." He awkwardly patted their heads, a tentative smile gracing his lips. He saw Sarah, her face now alight with hope. He looked at Lily and Rose, their eyes sparkling with delight. A lone tear escaped him. Years had passed since he last wept. He had arrived to evict a family. He was leaving, transformed. A new beginning. The mingled aroma of cut timber and glossy finish permeated the air, a familiar and reassuring embrace for Sarah as tangible as a favorite quilt. Sunlight poured through the broad window of her revitalized workspace, igniting golden sparks in the swirling dust and reflecting off the gleaming surfaces of works in progress. 3 months had flown by since Mr. Sterling's unexpected visit, a whirlwind of challenging, yet fulfilling labor. True to his word, though shrouded in his signature secrecy, he'd orchestrated everything. A solicitor's call, followed by the lease to this haven, a spacious, sun-drenched workshop on the town's periphery. Then arrived the equipment, a cutting-edge lathe, a purring band saw, and a mountain of lumber sufficient for a small settlement. As an added bonus, he'd enlisted Silas, a seasoned woodworker, a gruff but kind mentor, to guide Sarah through intricate projects and share techniques David had only envisioned. Sarah's fingers traced the sleek contours of a rocking horse, its mane and tail fashioned from leather scraps, its eyes like polished gemstones. This one was destined for Lily, a token of gratitude for her unwavering faith. Nearby, Lily, perched upon a stool, meticulously applied paint to a set of Russian dolls, her tongue a tiny flag of concentration. Rose at her side carefully smoothed the edges of a diminutive birdhouse, her brow knit in focus. The atmosphere pulsed with invention, with the peaceful satisfaction of bringing something new into being. "Mama, Mr. Silas says I'm a natural with a brush," Lily announced, holding up a doll adorned with bright sunflowers. "He's right, sweetheart." "A true artist," Sarah replied, her voice thick with emotion. "Rose, how goes the avian abode?" "Almost ready, Mama," Rose murmured, caressing the polished wood. "I think the bluebirds will adore it." David's workshop, as it was now known, had become far more than a place of business. It was a refuge, a sanctuary where her late husband's spirit lived on in every piece. Sarah poured her sorrow, her affection, and her resolute spirit into her craft, infusing each creation with David's very essence. Mr. Sterling hadn't reappeared since that initial encounter, nor did she expect him to. A man of consequence, she knew his time was precious. Still, thoughts of him often surfaced, a silent query regarding his well-being. She only hoped he understood the depth of her appreciation. Seasons shifted. The workshop thrived. Whispers of Sarah's talent and ingenuity spread like wildfire. Commissions poured in for bespoke furniture, elaborate carvings, and enchanting playthings. Sarah employed 2 more local artisans, providing them with steady incomes and a sense of direction. David's workshop blossomed into a local landmark, a testament to resilience and optimism. One brilliant autumn afternoon, as russet leaves danced beyond the window in a vibrant ballet, a figure materialized in the doorway, undeniably familiar. Mr. Sterling. He carried himself differently, somehow, gentler, less guarded. New lines etched the corners of his eyes, but they spoke of mirth, not severity. He paused, observing them at work, a subtle smile gracing his lips. Garbed in a tweed jacket, his hands clasped behind his back, he spoke. "I trust I'm not intruding." His voice, a deep timbre, resonated within the space. Sarah nearly let her chisel fall. "Mr. Sterling, what a welcome surprise. Please come in." Lily and Rose, instantly recognizing him, bounded forward to greet him, their faces alight. "Mr. Sterling, look, I finished the nesting dolls," Lily declared, proudly offering the set. Rose, bashfully, presented him with a petite, intricately carved wooden sparrow. "I made this for you," she whispered. He accepted the gifts with unexpected tenderness. He scrutinized the dolls, the corners of his eyes crinkling with pleasure. He cradled the wooden bird as if it were spun from gold thread. "These are extraordinary," he said, his voice thick with feeling. His gaze swept across the workshop, absorbing the bustling scene, the fragrance of wood and polish, the palpable atmosphere of happiness. "You've cultivated something truly exceptional here, Sarah," he said, finally meeting her eyes. "David would be immensely proud." Sarah's heart swelled within her chest. "Thank you, Mr. Sterling. This wouldn't have been attainable without you." He demurred. "You achieved this, Sarah. You and your remarkable daughters. You possess the skill, the determination, the unwavering spirit. I merely facilitated the opportunity." He lingered in the workshop for the remainder of the afternoon, watching Lily and Rose at play, listening to Sarah discuss her craft, and reminiscing about David. He even attempted to sand a piece of lumber, to the girls' great amusement. As twilight descended, casting elongated shadows across the workshop, Mr. Sterling prepared to depart. He faced Sarah, his gaze filled with a quiet grace. "I arrived here hoping to unearth something," he confessed, his voice barely audible. "And I believe I have." He paused, then smiled. "Thank you, Sarah. Thank you for reminding me of life's true treasures." He stepped into the gathering dusk, leaving behind the workshop's warm radiance and the comforting melody of laughter. As Sarah watched him go, she sensed the dawning of a new chapter, not solely for her and her daughters, but for Mr. Sterling as well. A new beginning rooted in empathy, forgiveness, and a lasting potency of the human heart.